He stood under the glowing lights of the galactic hall, dressed in a formal black uniform with silver edges. Commander Rian of Earth's space defense had faced many enemies, led fleets into battle, and even watched his own brother die on the front lines. But today, his hands were shaking, not from fear, but from the unknown. He was about to marry an alien, not just any alien. A noblewoman of the Varelian Empire, one of the most powerful species in the galaxy, was said to have wings like crystal and eyes that shimmered with light. But Rian hadn't seen her, not even once. In fact, no human had. That was part of the agreement. The peace treaty between Earth and the Varelians had one condition: a binding marriage between a human male and the daughter of their house. Not for love, but to join two races through blood. A symbol of peace, a permanent bond. Rian had volunteered. "I'll do it," he had said, stepping forward before the Earth Council. "If this saves our world, then I'll marry whoever they choose." Now he stood in the ancient chamber, alone, surrounded by alien nobles and officials with unreadable faces. The air was heavy with ceremonial incense. He could hear his heart thumping louder than the drums. At the far end of the hall, the bride entered. She was veiled completely, her body wrapped in shimmering fabric, her face hidden beneath layers of glowing silk. Her steps were silent, graceful. The room grew quiet. Everyone watched. No words were spoken. Rian had been warned. Varelian marriage customs were sacred. The bride and groom could not speak until after the bond was sealed. They could not touch, could not see each other's faces. He only knew her name, Lyara. She stopped in front of him, head slightly bowed. A tall priest stepped forward and began chanting in the Varelian tongue. Rian didn't understand the words, but he knew what they meant. They were giving her to him not as property, but as promise. She raised her hand, and he did the same. Their palms hovered close, not touching. A sudden warmth passed between them, energy, or maybe just nerves. The priest finished. "Bond is sealed," the translator announced in a deep mechanical voice, and just like that, it was done. The nobles gave short bows. Some looked pleased. Others seemed disappointed. Before he could wonder more, Lyara was escorted away by two silent handmaidens. She never looked at him, not even once. Rian stood there, surrounded by strangers, suddenly feeling like the loneliest man in the galaxy. Hours passed. He was taken to guest quarters, luxurious, cold, and quiet. No one came, no one spoke. He didn't even know if he was allowed to leave. He sat on the bed, staring at the ceiling. What have I done? Suddenly, the door hissed open. A tall guard entered. "The lady requests your presence in the royal chambers." Ayan stood quickly now. The guard nodded. "You are her husband." Those words felt heavy. He followed the guard through long, glowing corridors. The palace was carved from a kind of white crystal. It glowed from within, like it was alive. Strange music played from the walls, soft, otherworldly. They reached a golden door. The guard stopped. "She waits alone. Enter." Rian hesitated, then took a breath. The door opened. The chamber was dim, lit only by soft orbs that floated in. The air, silk curtains swayed gently. A scent of something sweet like alien flowers filled the room. And there she was, standing near the window, a back turned, her veil still on. She didn't move. He stepped inside. "Lyara, I'm Rian," he said softly. "Your husband now, I suppose." She turned slightly but didn't look at him. Her voice came quietly, like a whisper on the wind. "You may leave if you wish. I will not stop you." Rian blinked. "What? This union was forced on you?" she said. "I understand. No man has ever stayed after seeing me." He walked closer, not too close. "I didn't come here to run." A long silence. Finally, she asked, "You don't want to know what I look like?" "I married a stranger for peace," he said. "If your people trust you with this task, then I will too." Another silence. Then she stepped forward, closer. To him, but still covered. "If you truly mean that," she whispered, "then tomorrow I will remove the veil. Rian looked at her. Even hidden behind fabric, there was something graceful, wounded, maybe not. Dangerous, I'll be here, he said quietly. The lights dimmed, and as the door slowly closed behind him, something in the room began to hum. Rian couldn't sleep, not because of fear, but because something inside him kept turning. A strange mix of curiosity, tension, and something deeper, something he couldn't explain. He lay in his guest room, staring at the crystal ceiling as light slowly shifted from purple to gold. Morning was arriving on the alien world. She said she would remove the veil today. That thought echoed in his chest like a silent drumbeat. He sat up, rubbed his face, and splashed cold water from a silver bowl into his hands. The water shimmered, like liquid light. Even small things here felt different, ancient, magical. This wasn't Earth, and the woman he'd married, Liar, was not human. But there was something fragile in her voice last night. Something that didn't belong in a political deal. Something real. The door opened without warning. A soft chime played as two female attendants entered, both dressed in light flowing robes. They bowed without a word and handed him a folded cloth. "Wear this," one of them said. "The lady is ready." Rian dressed in silence. The robe was smooth, deep blue with silver stitching. It felt expensive, too soft for someone used to battlefield armor. Once ready, he followed them through the quiet halls. No guards this time, no. Audience, only silence and tension. They arrived at a different door. This one was tall and carved with swirling patterns, like vines holding stars. The attendants bowed again and left him alone. He stood there for a moment, unsure. Then the door slid open by itself. He stepped inside. The room was darker than before. Soft light floated through the air like drifting fireflies. Curtains moved gently in an invisible breeze. And at the center, seated on the edge of a small platform, was Liara, still veiled. But alone. She didn't turn as he entered. But he could feel her presence like warmth in the cold. He walked slowly. No rush, no pressure. Didn't want to scare. "Her eye came," he said. "I know." Her voice was calm, softer than before, not broken, not afraid. "I didn't sleep," he admitted. "I did," she replied. For the first time in many cycles, he took that as a strange compliment. "May I sit?" She nodded. He lowered himself onto the cushion across from her. For a while they just sat there, two strangers bound by politics and ceremony listening to the quiet sounds of the alien room. Then she reached up slowly and placed her fingers on the edge of the veil. Rian didn't speak, didn't move. She paused. "Are you sure?" "I've never been more sure," he said, voice steady. One long, smooth motion, she lifted the veil and let it fall behind her, and Rian froze. She wasn't what he expected. Not ugly, not terrifying, but different. Her skin shimmered faintly with a soft violet hue like moonlight reflected in deep water. Her hair floated behind her, weightless and glowing with streaks of silver and lavender. Her eyes bright, bioluminescent, looked like galaxies trapped behind glass. Her features were smooth, balanced, but not human. Not at all. And yet in that moment, Rian saw something far more familiar than he expected. Sorrow, strength, and shame. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. "If you wish to look away, I will understand." But he didn't. He leaned forward, slowly, and studied her face as if it were the most delicate artwork he had ever seen. "I'm not looking away," he said, almost in a whisper. "I'm looking closer." That made her blink twice, like her body didn't know how to handle the words. "You don't find me disgusting?" "No," he replied. "I find you beautiful and also sad." She looked down. "It's not. Just my appearance. My kind call me cursed. My birthmark." She raised her hand to her neck and pulled back a strand of glowing hair. A small mark shimmered there, shaped like a spiral flame. "They believe it means I carry weakness. Mother died birthing me. My people never forgave me for that." Rian frowned. That's not weakness. That's survival. Her glowing eyes met his. You really believe that? He nodded. She was silent for a long moment, then finally said, when the council forced me to marry a human, I thought I would end my life after the ceremony. Those words hit him hard. I thought you would hate me, she continued, like the others, like the Varelian males who asked to court me and then left when they saw me. You were alone, Rian said. They left you alone. Even my father could not look at me. He chose this path for peace, but also to send me away. Rian clenched his fists. That's not peace. That's exile. Liara looked at him again. This time, there was something new in her gaze. Just surprise, but hope. Why didn't you ask for a different bride? She asked. He smiled faintly. Because peace needs sacrifice. Because I don't believe in running from the unknown. She blinked. You think I'm just unknown? I think you're something no one ever gave a chance to. For a while, neither of them spoke. Then slowly, very slowly, Lyra reached out her hand. Not hovering like the wedding ritual. This time, real contact. Rian met her halfway. Their hands touched. A soft spark passed between their skin warm. Gentle, not painful. Her skin was cool but calming. He didn't pull away. She didn't flinch. When she finally spoke, her voice was lighter than before. Almost a whisper of something new. Thank you, husband, he smiled. You're welcome, Liara. Outside the chamber, hidden eyes watched. Inside, for the first time in a long, long time. She felt seen not as a symbol, not as a deal, but as a person. And the veil that mattered most wasn't the one on her face. It was the one over her heart. And now, it had started to fall. The stars outside the palace shimmered as the night deepened. But inside the chamber, time felt like it had stopped. Rian and Liara still sat together on the soft cushions. Hands loosely intertwined, her veil gone replaced now by silence and something that felt almost like understanding. He didn't rush her. She didn't hide. Neither of them spoke for a while. The silence wasn't awkward. It was sacred. Liara gently pulled her hand back and looked down at her palm, still faintly glowing. From the contact, no one has ever touched me without fear, she said softly. Even my own kin wear gloves. Rian frowned. Why? They think I carry a sickness, a curse that flows through my blood. The mark on my neck isn't just a scar part of an old Varelian legend. A flame spiral is said to belong to those who bring ruin. Do you believe that? He asked. She looked up. I used to. He shifted forward. But I don't. And I think you've believed lies for too long. That made her laugh. A small sound, the first one he'd heard from her, that felt real. Not royal, not rehearsed. Just her. You speak like a soldier, she said. Sharp, direct, and fearless. I've faced death more times than I can count. But sitting in this room with you, that's the first time I felt unsure? She tilted her head. Why? Because I don't want to mess this up, he admitted. Not the marriage. Not you. She blinked, then her voice dropped. Would you like to know the rest of my secret? Rian leaned in, curious. There's more. She stood slowly. Her gown shimmered with every step as she moved toward a dark panel in the wall. With a wave of her hand, it opened, revealing a narrow tunnel behind. Come, she said, without looking back. Rian hesitated only a second before standing and following her in. The tunnel was cold and dim. The walls pulsed faintly with blue. Veins of energy. It felt older than the palace itself. Maybe even older than the empire. Where are we going? He asked. To the place where they hide the truth, she replied. They walked in silence for several minutes. The air changed. Less scented, more dry and heavy. Finally, they reached a circular room made entirely of black stone. At its center stood a floating orb surrounded by thousands of tiny shards. Gij, when pulsing like a heartbeat. Liara stepped forward and touched one of the shards. A hologram burst into life. It showed a woman beautiful, strong, and unmistakably Varelian. Her eyes were bright like Lyra's, but her voice was deeper, regal. "That's my mother," Lyra said. "She died after giving birth to me. Or so I was told." The image changed. Showed the same woman, this time older, injured, and surrounded. "By guards!" she was shouting, but there was no sound. "Wait," Rian said. "They arrested her." Liara nodded. She found something. Truth buried in the genetics of our bloodline. She said the spiral flame mark wasn't a curse. It was a sign of evolution. The next stage. But the council feared it. Her mother was being taken away in chains. The final shard showed a baby being hidden. In a small chamber. "That was me," Lyara said quietly. "They took her away, erased her name, and told me she died in childbirth." Rian stepped closer, anger building in his chest. "They lied to you. They lied to everyone," she said. "And they planned to do the same to me. The marriage with a human wasn't just about peace, it was exile. They hoped I'd be too ashamed to reveal my face, that I'd disappear quietly. But you didn't," Rian said. "You're here. It's with me." She looked at him, her eyes glowing softly. You were the only one who didn't look away." Rian stepped closer. "And I never will." She blinked quickly, like holding back something. Then she whispered, "You don't know what that means to someone like me. Then tell me," he said gently. "Let me understand." She turned, walked over to him, and placed her hand on his chest. When a Varelian with the flame mark bonds fully with another emotionally and physically, their power awakens. Their blood unlocks potential, but only if the other accepts it. "Truly, what happens then?" he asked. She looked into his eyes. "Then we're more than bonded. We become one. In body, in thought, and in fate." Rian swallowed. "You're saying, if I accept everything about you, we both change?" She nodded. "Is that what they fear?" he asked. "Yes," she said, "because no ruler can control a bonded pair, not even the council." They took a breath, then slowly reached up and touched the side of her face. Then maybe it's time they feared the right people. She didn't pull away. Her breathing slowed. For the first time, her body relaxed fully. A soft glow rose around them. The floating shards hummed in unison. Ancient, something alive began to stir in the room, and then a voice echoed, not from Lyara, not from Rian, but from the walls. "The flame has chosen. Let the bond begin." Lyara's eyes widened. "That wasn't me," she whispered. Rian looked around.
What was that?
She stepped back suddenly. "Nervous. It means the temple has accepted our contact." "The path has started." "To what?" he asked. She looked at him this time with something close to fear. To war or to freedom? And somewhere above, deep in the palace, someone else had just learned that the bond had begun, and they were not pleased. Rian and Lyara stood frozen in the stone chamber, the words echoing all around them. "The flame has chosen. Let the bond begin." It was as if the ancient temple itself had woken up to their presence. For a moment, Rian felt both afraid and strangely powerful, as if he was standing on the edge of a great storm. Lyra's face was pale violet in the shifting light. "We must leave this place," she whispered, grabbing his hand tightly. Her skin was cool, but her grip strong. "The council can sense when the bond is accepted. They will act." Rian nodded, not asking for details. He trusted her, even if everything here felt like a riddle. He followed her quickly through the winding tunnels, past glowing stones and old secrets, until they reached a hidden exit. Lyara paused and pressed her palm against a crystal panel. The wall slid open with a faint hum. Stepping out, they found themselves in a quiet garden behind the palace. Strange flowers glowed in the darkness, lighting their path. The air was heavy with sweet perfume, but there was no peace in Lyra's eyes. She glanced over her shoulder as if expecting danger to appear at any moment. "We cannot go back inside," she said, voice trembling. "The council will send guards to capture us. If they learn the bond is started, they may try to end it before it grows stronger." Yane's jaw tightened. "They want me dead, don't they?" Lyra hesitated, then nodded. "They never expected the marriage to mean anything, To them, you are a symbol, a pawn. If the bond completes, it gives me power they cannot control. That threatens their rule. He looked at her, suddenly seeing how much she'd risked by letting him in. Why trust me? He asked quietly. She looked up, her eyes reflecting the garden lights. Because you're the only one who didn't. Turn away, because you listened. Because I am tired of being alone in this palace of lies. A shout rang out from the other side of the garden. Lyra's hand squeezed his. Come this way. They ran, silent as shadows, past a row of glowing fountains. Rion's heart hammered. He saw movement at the palace windows, figures searching. Guards already spreading out, the alarm would soon sound. They reached a narrow archway behind a thick wall of ivy. Liara pulled him through. On the other side, a small old shuttle sat half buried in the garden's edge, rusty, forgotten but just big enough for two. Rion climbed into the co-pilot's seat, fingers trembling as he searched for controls. Liara slid into the pilot's chair and touched a hidden crystal. The ship hummed to life. Hold on, she said. With a sharp hiss, the little ship lifted off, barely missing the palace roof as it shot into the night. Rion glanced back to see searchlights sweep across the garden, but they were already gone rising. Higher, into the strange blue clouds of the Varelian night. Inside the shuttle, Liara let out a shaky breath. They'll follow. They'll never let us escape so easily. Then where do we go? Rion asked. She turned the ship toward the dark side of the planet, where the city lights faded and wilderness began. To the one place they fear, the Free Moon. It's a trade port, neutral ground. My mother once had friends there, rebels, outcasts, people who hate the council. Rion nodded. We need allies. We need to show them the truth. Liara glanced at him, worry on her face. They catch us first. They will kill you and erase my memory. They have done it before to those with the flame. He reached over and took her hand again. They won't win. Not this time. As the shuttle sped through the atmosphere, a signal blinked on the dashboard. Lyra's eyes widened as she read the message. Wanted, human escape from royal bond. Last seen with Liara of the Flame. Reward, exile or death. Rion let out a bitter laugh. Fast workers. Liara shook her head. This is only the beginning. The council fears the bond more than they fear war. They will chase us across the stars if they must. Suddenly, the ship jolted as a warning alarm blared. Rion looked at the radar. We've got company. We're at the front window. 3 sleek fighters swooped in behind them, palace guards and black and silver ships. Liara's hands flew over the controls. Hold tight. She spun the shuttle through a narrow canyon of rock and cloud, engines whining. Laser fire lit the sky behind them. Rion watched as Liara dodged and twisted, moving with the instincts of someone born to fly. A shot hit their rear stabilizer. The ship jerked, alarms screaming. Rion glanced at her, panic rising, but Lyra's eyes were focused, wild. We're not stopping, she said through gritted teeth. Somehow, she got them free. The palace ships fell back, unable to match the risky moves. After long minutes, the radar cleared. They were alone in the night. Breathless, Rion turned to her. That was impressive. She managed a weak smile. My mother taught me. She said if you can fly, you can survive. As the shuttle crossed into the dark side, Rion stared out the window at the endless stars. He felt something changing not just in their fate, but inside himself. Liara's presence felt stronger, her hand warm in his, the bond growing deeper. He realized then that the real war wasn't just for peace or power, it was for truth, longing. Liara met his gaze, her face set with determination. We're not running anymore. We're fighting for a future that's ours, not theirs. And in the distance, the free moon awaited, full of outlaws, old secrets, and the promise of rebellion. But back in the palace, as news of their escape spread, the council gathered in fury. They had never feared a human before. Now they did. The free moon was nothing like the shining halls of the Varelian palace. It floated alone in the black, its surface covered in towers and landing pads, a wild mix of alien ships blinking under neon lights. It was a place where rules were made and broken every hour, where secrets could live or die in the space between shadows. Rian and Liara landed, their battered shuttle at the edge of a crowded port. The docking ring was loud with music and voices in 100 languages, full of beings from worlds he couldn't name. The air smelled of smoke, oil, and sweet spices. There no one cared if you wore a crown or a markin, unless you brought trouble. Liara moved carefully through the crowd, her hood up, keeping her face low. Rian stayed close, his senses sharp, every muscle ready for danger. The bond between them felt electric, growing stronger with each shared look, each moment of silent trust. "Are you sure your mother's allies are still here?" Rian asked quietly as they ducked into a narrow alley away from the main streets. Liara nodded. If anyone remembers her, it will be Male. He was her guard captain until the council called him a traitor. He vanished after her exile. "You trust him?" Rian asked. "I have to," she said. "We have no one else." They stopped at a small door under a flickering sign. Liara pressed a hidden button, and a scanner flashed across her face. After a moment, the door slid open with a hiss. A tall figure stood in the shadows inside, his features hidden under a metallic mask. He looked at them for a long moment, then spoke in a deep, rough voice. "But you have the eyes of your mother. Girl, but you walk with fear." Liara pulled back her hood, letting the soft violet light from her skin shine in the dark. "Male." He nodded once, stepping aside to let them enter. Inside, the room was plain a few chairs, a table covered in maps and old weapons, and a single window that looked out over the city. Male studied Rian with cold eyes. "A human that will bring trouble." Liara stood straight. "He is my husband. The council has marked us both." Male didn't look surprised. "The palace channels are full of your faces. They want him alive for now. You they want returned. Or dead." Rian stepped forward. "We didn't come to hide. We came to fight." Male grunted. "It's what the moon is full of spies. Bounty hunter on this side of the galaxy will be looking for you. The council has put a price on your heads." Liara met his gaze. "We need help. You were loyal to my mother. You know the truth about the flame." Male hesitated. "Many here do, but most are afraid to act." Rian felt the weight of Male's words, but not all. Male shook his head. "Not all. There are those who still remember her kindness. But if you stay, you bring danger to everyone." Liara's voice was steady. "And we won't stay. But we need safe passage, just for one day. Tomorrow, there's a meeting of the Free Moon's traders. The council's agents will be there. If we can show them the truth, show them what the bond means, they may help us. Or at least refuse to support the council's hunt." Male considered this, then finally nodded. "You'll have shelter here tonight, but stay hidden and trust no one except me." As night fell, the city outside grew even wilder. Rian watched from the window, thinking about all they'd lost, about all they still could lose. Late that night, a faint sound woke him, a whisper, just outside the door. He grabbed a small weapon Male had given him and slipped into the hallway. Liara was already awake, standing in the shadows. Suddenly, the door burst open. 3 masked figures rushed in, their weapons drawn, moving fast and silent. Rian jumped in front of Liara, firing once, forcing them back. Male appeared from the darkness, his blade flashing, taking down one attacker with smooth, practiced force. But the leader, taller, faster, lunged at Liara, grabbing her arm and pulling her toward the window. She fought, glowing brighter as she struggled. "Rian!" He dove forward, grabbing the attacker's wrist. There was a shock, like a surge of energy between them, and the attacker screamed. Dropping Liara and falling back, dazed, Rian pulled Liara close. Male stood over the fallen attackers, breathing hard. "They will not stop," Male said. "Word will spread. You must leave before dawn." Liara nodded, her eyes bright with fear, but also with resolve. "We leave together. We finish this together." They slipped out before sunrise, using hidden tunnels to reach the market square. There, beneath banners of every world, the traders were already gathering. The air buzzed with rumors and fear. Rian saw faces in the crowd, some curious, some hostile, and in the shadows more hunters waited. Among them, he caught the eye of one who looked strangely familiar. It's familiar, Relian. Armored, and watching Liara with a look that was not hate but regret. Liara noticed too. That's my old protector, she whispered. He was loyal once. Rian squeezed her hand. Maybe he still is. Or maybe everyone here will have to choose a side. The sun rose over the free moon, painting the city in red and gold. For the first time, Rian and Liara stood together, not as fugitives, but as fighters. The hunt was far from over, but now they were ready to face it side by side. The market square of the free moon was crowded and noisy, alive with voices, music, and sharp smells from every corner of the galaxy. Traders shouted, children darted between legs, and above it all, banners fluttered with the symbols of dozens of worlds. But beneath the colors and sound, tension buzzed in the air like a storm waiting to break. Rian and Liara kept close, Mael guiding them through the crowds. He moved with careful steps, eyes always searching for danger. Rian could feel the eyes on them. The news of their arrival had already spread. Some looked at Liara with fear, others with awe, but a few with a spark of hope. Maybe, just maybe, things could change here. They reached a large round tent at the edge of the square, where the council's agents were expected to speak. Around the tent, tough-looking guards checked everyone who entered. To a contact, then slipped them inside. The air was heavy, thick with the smell of incense and sweat. A stage stood at the center, ringed by leaders and merchants from every race. Among them, Rian recognized the armored Varelian who had once been Lyra's protector. Their eyes met for a second. The man's expression was unreadable. As the speeches began, Liara stayed hidden behind a thin curtain. Rian stood by her, trying to look calm, but his hands would not stop trembling. The council's main agent, a thin, cold-eyed woman, spoke to the crowd. Peace comes from order, she said, voice smooth and sharp as glass. Earth's soldier broke that order by stealing our royal blood. The council demands their return. Offer a reward for their capture, alive or dead. Anger rose in Rian's chest. He looked at Liara, her face pale but determined. Mael whispered, Now, if you have anything to show them, do it now. Liara took a shaky breath and stepped out from the curtain, pulling back her hood. The crowd fell silent, surprised by her bravery. She climbed onto the stage, every eye turning toward her glowing skin and bright, galaxy-like eyes. I am Liara, she said, her voice clear and strong, even as it trembled. Daughter of the flame, not cursed evolved. My mother tried to. Tell you they silenced her. Now they try to silence me, the crowd murmured, some angry, some uncertain. She raised her hand and called out. This man, my husband, stood with me when no one else did. Believed I was not a curse, but a sign of hope, and I will prove it. Before anyone could stop her, she drew a sharp dagger and cut a shallow line across her palm. Purple-silver blood welled up, sparkling in the tense low light. Rian rushed forward, but she caught his hand, pressing her bleeding palm to a cut. On his arm he'd gotten in the night attack. A shock passed through him. Warmth, light, and a sense of something ancient and alive. Rian gasped, feeling his wound close beneath her touch faster than human medicine. Faster than any science. The room exploded with noise. Some shouted that it was witchcraft. Others demanded answers, but a few came closer, staring at his healed skin in awe. Liara spoke, her voice steady. This is not death. This is life. The flame is not for the council to own or to hide, belongs to all who wish for a future beyond. Fear. The old protector, the armored Varelian, stepped forward and took off his helmet, revealing tired eyes and a long scar across his cheek. I served her mother, he said loudly. I saw the council's lies. They tried to kill the truth. I will not let them do it again. The council's agent snapped orders. Guards tried to grab Liara, but Mael and several traders blocked their way. More in the crowd began to shout, choosing sides, some for the council, some for Liara and Rian. Scuffle broke out. Rian shielded Liara as best he could. Mael fought with the skill of a soldier, keeping the guards away from them. Suddenly, the old protector was at Liara's side. "There is a hidden passage," he said quickly. "Your mother used it once. Follow me." With the crowd in chaos, they slipped through the back of the tent, down a narrow tunnel that twisted beneath the city. The air was close and dark. Rian kept one arm around Liara, feeling her trembling with exhaustion and pain. They emerged in a small storage room, the city's sounds muffled by thick walls. Mael locked the door behind them. "You have started something none of us can stop now," he said, his face grim but proud. Liara leaned into Rian's shoulder, her eyes bright, with tears not of fear but relief. "For the first time, I am not running away," she said softly. "For the first time, I am not ashamed." Ow. Rian wrapped his arms around her, holding her close. "We will finish this together," he promised. Mael and the protector stood watch, ready for the fight that would come. Outside, the free moon was no longer just a den of thieves and traitors. It was now a spark, a place where old lies had been challenged. The truth in Lyra's blood had begun to change everything. But in the darkness above, ships were already moving. The council would not give up easily, and Rian knew the real test was still to come.